Hi, Sonia here with your intuitive tip of the week. And this week we're talking about how to connect with our guides and angels in times of stress and trouble. So I first want to talk about how we have a whole constellation of guides and angels who are here to support us. And they're really here to help remind us that we don't have to do things on our own. And right now, as we are quarantining or self-isolating all over the world, it's really important that we connect to our higher selves and to our whole constellation of guides that are here to help. So this reminds me of a story of when I first moved to college. I went to a school called Lewis and Clark. I was 19 and I originally went out to school, was there overnight, went back to Chicago, did a semester at DePaul, and then moved back. And during that time, I started my semester in January, and one of my best friends committed suicide right before I left to go back to college. And as you can understandably know, I was shattered, I was heartbroken, I was completely alone. And in moving back to my college, I moved into a single dorm. So I was living like by myself. The first day that I got there was a snowstorm. And if you know anything about Portland, Portland shuts down completely when there's snow. Like 1 inch, a dusting of snow will shut down the entire city. So with no friends and nothing to do, I decided that I was going to take the city bus into town to see a movie. And did so. I ended up seeing a movie called Alpha Dog, which was like a terrible movie for me to go see in the state that I was in. But the way that this bus system in Chicago works is if you take a bus one way, the same bus route will take you back the other way. And so I get back on the bus expecting to be dropped off at the front door of my dormitory, but instead I got dropped off at the base of this giant hill. Now, I had been in Portland for less than 24 hours. I had visited there and did an interview when I first arrived for like the day. I literally flew in that morning and left that night and knew in my heart that's where I belong. So I knew nothing about Portland. I knew nothing about anything. And so I get off the bus and here I am. It is night, it is snowing, my phone is dying. And so I go to a police officer and ask him for help. I say, I'm brand new here and I'm trying to get back to Lewis and Clark. How do I get up there? And he says, basically just follow this road. And okay, off I went. I am on the phone with my best friend, joking around, talking about how if I disappear, that I disappear on this road, and off I walk. And this road is this giant hill. And so as I walk up the hill, there are less and less cars, there's more and more forest. And all of a sudden I realize that I have walked for an hour. There is no one around me at all. I am completely by myself. My phone with the weather and the time had died. And so I am now stuck. The policeman had told me, but he didn't tell me that it was basically like a 7-mile walk back to campus. But I have no idea where I am. I have no idea how I'm gonna get back. I don't know if I should turn back. It's dark, there's no headlight, there's no lights, there's nothing. So what I did was I decided to do what I've always been taught to do from my family, is to pray and ask for help. My head was trying to figure it out. It was too much, so I just started to pray and started to ask for help. Angels, I need help, help me. And I keep walking, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I round this bend, and there is a yellow cab sitting on the side of the road, and a gentleman who's cleaning out the back seat. So I run over to tell him, oh my gosh, you are a miracle. Can you please help me? I am brand new. I have no idea where I'm going. And he kindly tells me to get back in the car. I sit back seat of the car and starts to drive me to college. And I ask him, I'm like, how are you here? This is amazing. You are a miracle that I've been praying for. And he tells me that he had just left OHSU, which is a hospital on the top of this hill, unbeknownst to me. And his father had just passed. And he had gone to go get some of his things and was arranging it in the back of his car. And of course, I burst out into tears and cry, and I'm so sad for him, but he was my sweet little earth angel. And we start to talking, and he starts to tell me about his dad, about his son, about how he had actually been suspended for taxi driving for all these different reasons, but he dropped me off safely at my dormitory, and I said, thank you. You are my earth angel. And he said, no, thank you. You are mine. And just in these moments where it can be hard to feel like we have support, whether we're isolated, whether we're worried about the state of the world, whether we're worried about our friends, families. As somebody who has my sister and mom who are both in the UK, far away, a lot of news, we can be inundated with having too much information. But what this story is to illustrate is that we can ask for help and turn it over. So right now, as we're spending a lot of time being quiet, a lot of time self-reflecting, listening more deeply, this is also a time where we can ask our angels and guides for help. And so some of my favorite tools and easiest ways is ask for help. Where are you feeling overwhelmed, anxious, burdened, stressed out? Ask your angels and guides to alleviate your burden. 2, expect it to work. We have to pay attention to the subtle signs. We have to pay attention to the different ways they show up. And it could show up in, lyrics to a song, a video that we see. It can show up in a dream. Don't discount the ways that we get support. Really start to notice them, anchor them in, and honor them. And 3, I would just encourage you to create a relationship and start talking to your guides and angels. This is a really powerful way in building a relationship because it's a two-way street. Our guides and angels won't help us unless we are available for help and ask. And the more that we put into it, the more we'll get out of it. So I really encourage you to just turn some of your worries, some of your stress, some of your burdening over to something bigger than you, and let yourself feel comforted, and ask for help in all the different things. Where are you struggling? Ask, and don't be surprised in the ways that things show up. So I hope that this tool helps you this week. I am sending you all my love. If you haven't already, head over to Facebook and join my Your Spiritual Bestie page. It's a group for support, for good vibes, and also just different tools to help anchor these principles in. So I'm sending you all my love. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Enjoy the time alone. Bye.